The call came at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday. Robert's phone lit up the darkness of our bedroom, and I knew before he answered what it would be. His mother, Catherine, had been in hospice for 2 weeks. This was the call we'd been expecting. "She's gone," Robert said after hanging up, his voice flat. "Mom passed away 20 minutes ago." I reached for his hand in the darkness. "I'm so sorry, honey." He pulled away. Even now, even in grief, there was distance between us. 15 years of marriage, and sometimes I felt like we were strangers living in the same house. "I need to go to her place," Robert said, already getting dressed. "There are arrangements to make. Papers to sort through." "I'll come with you." "No." The word was sharp. "You should stay here with the kids." "I'll handle this," I didn't argue. I had learned over 15 years not to argue about his mother. Catherine Thompson had been the invisible third person in our marriage from the day we said "I do," and even in death, she was still coming between us. I met Catherine the day Robert brought me home to meet his family. I was 26, teaching 3rd grade, and so in love with her son that I didn't see the ice in her eyes when she first looked at me. Or maybe I saw it and chose to ignore it. "So you're Maya," she had said, her tone polite but cold. "Robert's mentioned you, not, 'Robert's told us so much about you,' or 'We've been excited to meet you.' Just mentioned. Like I was a casual acquaintance, not the woman her son was planning to marry." The dinner that followed was excruciating. Catherine asked pointed questions about my family, my background, my career plans. Each question felt like a test I was failing. "And where did you say your people are from?" she asked, cutting her chicken with precise movements. "Baltimore originally. My parents moved to—" "I meant before that. Your ancestry." Robert had squeezed my hand under the table. "Mom, does it matter?" "I'm just making conversation, dear." Getting to know Maya, but it wasn't conversation. It was interrogation. And I knew sitting at that table that Catherine Thompson did not approve of me. The question was whether her disapproval was because I was a teacher instead of a doctor, because I came from a working-class family instead of old money, or because I was black and her son was white. I suspected it was all three, but mostly the last one. Robert proposed 3 months later, and Catherine's mask slipped completely at the engagement dinner. "Are you sure about this, Robert?" she asked when I excused myself to use the restroom. I heard her through the thin door. "Marriage is forever. You need to be absolutely certain." "I am certain, Mom. I love Maya. Love isn't always enough. There are practical considerations, cultural differences. What about children? Have you thought about how difficult it will be for them?" "Difficult how?" "Oh, Robert, don't be naive. Mixed-race children face challenges. I'm just thinking about your future." I had stood in that bathroom, hands gripping the sink, fighting back tears. Part of me wanted to march out there and confront her. But I didn't. I smiled, rejoined dinner, and pretended I hadn't heard. That was my first mistake. I should have addressed it then. Instead, I let it fester. The wedding was beautiful despite Catherine's attempts to sabotage it. She hated every choice I made. The flowers were wrong. The venue was too casual. My dress was too modern. Nothing was good enough. "This is Robert's day, too," she kept saying. Shouldn't he have some say? But when I asked Robert what he wanted, he'd shrug. "Whatever makes you happy, babe." He didn't see that his passivity was letting his mother steamroll both of us. The real war began after we got married. Catherine called every day, every single day, sometimes multiple times, always with something urgent that required Robert's immediate attention. Her sink was leaking. Her car made a strange noise. She felt dizzy and needed someone to drive her to the doctor. Could Robert pick up her prescriptions? Could he help move furniture? Could he fix her computer? At first, Robert went running every time. "She's alone, Maya. Dad's been gone 5 years. She needs me. She has friends. She has neighbors. Why does it always have to be you?" "Because I'm her son. And I was just the woman who married him. The woman who apparently didn't understand family obligation." The daily calls became daily visits. Robert would stop by his mother's house after work, just to check on her. 30 minutes turned into an hour. An hour turned into 2. Some nights he didn't get home until the kids were already in bed. "Did you eat dinner?" I'd ask. Mom made pot roast. I couldn't say no. So I'd put away the meal I'd cooked for our family, food wasted, and feel the resentment build. Then came the holidays. Every single holiday, Catherine expected us at her house. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, even minor holidays like Memorial Day and 4th of July. "Can't we do Thanksgiving at our place this year?" I asked after our first child, Emma, was born. "Start our own traditions?" Catherine overheard. "Start your own traditions? Robert, your father and I hosted Thanksgiving for 40 years. It's tradition." "Maybe we could alternate," I suggested. "One year here, 1 year there." Catherine's face went cold. "I see. You want to take my son away from his family." "That's not what I said." "It's fine, Maya. I understand. I'm just the grandmother. Not important anymore." Robert, as always, tried to smooth things over. "We'll come to your place, Mom. It's fine." And that was that. 15 years, and we never once hosted a major holiday in our own home. The criticisms started small. Little comments that could be dismissed as concern but cut like knives. "Emma's getting a bit chubby, isn't she? Maybe less snacks?" "You're letting Jake watch that much TV?" "We limited screen time when Robert was young." "You're still working full-time?" "I stayed home with Robert." But I suppose some mothers prioritize careers. Every comment was designed to make me feel like a failing wife, a failing mother, a failing woman. And Robert never defended me. He'd say, "That's just how Mom is. She doesn't mean anything by it." But she did mean it. Every word was calculated. The worst part was how subtle she was. To outsiders, Catherine was the perfect grandmother. She showed up to school events, sent birthday cards, bought thoughtful gifts. Robert saw a devoted mother and grandmother. I saw a woman systematically destroying my marriage. 5 years into our marriage, Robert came home excited about a promotion opportunity at work. "Senior engineer. Better pay. More responsibility. This could change everything for us," he said, eyes bright in a way I hadn't seen in years. I was happy for him, proud. But Catherine had other thoughts. "Senior engineer? That's a lot of responsibility, Robert. Long hours, travel. Are you sure you can handle that with your family obligations?" "I think so. Maya and I talked about it. Did Maya mention how much she'll resent you being away? How the children will suffer with an absent father?" "Mom, that's not fair." "I'm just speaking from experience, dear. Your father traveled for work and it put a terrible strain on our marriage. I'd hate to see you make the same mistake." Robert didn't take the promotion. He told his boss he needed to focus on family. When I asked him about it, he said, "Mom made some good points." Maybe now isn't the right time, I wanted to scream. Instead, I said nothing and watched my husband's career stagnate because his mother planted seeds of doubt. The breakthrough I'd been hoping for came when Emma was 6. She came home from a weekend at Grandma's house and said something that made my blood run cold. "Grandma says you don't know how to cook real food." "What?" "She says that's why Daddy likes eating at her house better." "Because you only make weird food. I made African-American soul food sometimes. My grandmother's recipes: collard greens, cornbread, fried chicken." Catherine called it weird food. Grandma also says it's sad that Daddy married someone so different from his family. Robert was at his mother's house, of course. I called him immediately. "Your mother is saying inappropriate things to Emma." "Like what?" I told him. Word for word. Emma probably misunderstood. "She's 6, Robert. She's not making this up." "I'll talk to Mom." He talked to her. Catherine denied everything. Said Emma must have confused something innocent. Robert believed his mother over our daughter. That was when I started suggesting therapy. "I think we need help," I told Robert. "Our marriage is struggling." "Because you won't try with my mother?" "Because your mother undermines everything I do and you won't stand up to her." We went to therapy. Dr. Hassan was a kind Pakistani man who listened patiently to both of us. "Robert, your wife feels unsupported when it comes to boundaries with your mother," Dr. Hassan said after 3 sessions. "My mother is elderly and alone. I can't just abandon her. No one's suggesting abandonment. But healthy boundaries are important in any marriage. My mother doesn't cross boundaries. Maya is just sensitive. I had walked out of that session wanting to scream. Dr. Hassan pulled me aside later. Mrs. Thompson, in cases like this, unless both partners are willing to see the problem, therapy can only do so much. So what do I do? You decide what you're willing to live with. And you make a choice. I chose to stay. For the kids. For the life we'd built. For the man I'd fallen in love with, even though he seemed more distant every year. And Catherine kept winning. Every single battle she won, until the day she died. Robert came home from her house at noon carrying a box. His face was unreadable. I found something, he said, setting the box on our kitchen table. In Mom's bedroom. Hidden in her closet. What is it? Her journals. She kept journals for years, decades. My heart started pounding. Why are you bringing them here? Because the most recent one has your name on it. A lot. He pulled out a leather-bound journal, the kind you'd buy at an expensive stationery store. The pages were filled with Catherine's neat cursive handwriting. I started reading it while I was going through her things, Robert said quietly. Maya, I think you need to see this. He opened to a page marked with a slip of paper. The entry was dated 3 months after our wedding. Robert seems happy with Maya, but I know this marriage is a mistake. She's not right for him. Not our kind of people. I tried to warn him, but he wouldn't listen. So I'll have to take matters into my own hands. If I can't stop the marriage, I can at least make sure it doesn't last. I read the words twice, 3 times. Take matters into her own hands? Robert flipped to another marked page. This one from 2 years into our marriage. The daily phone calls are working. Robert comes to see me almost every evening now. Maya is starting to resent it. I can see it in her face when they arrive together. Good. Resentment will poison their relationship more effectively than anything I could say directly. Robert thinks I need him. The truth is, I'm perfectly capable of changing my own light bulbs. But if playing helpless keeps my son close and drives a wedge between him and that woman, then that's what I'll do. The room felt like it was spinning. 15 years. 15 years of thinking I was going crazy, thinking I was too sensitive, thinking maybe Catherine really did just need help. It had all been calculated. Robert kept turning pages, and each entry was worse than the last. Robert's hands shook as he turned the journal pages. Each entry revealed another layer of his mother's calculated cruelty, another manipulated moment from our 15-year marriage. Year 3. The Thanksgiving. Incident. I told Maya I was hurt she wanted to host Thanksgiving. I made sure my voice wavered just enough. Robert immediately stepped in to defend me, just as I knew he would. The truth? I don't care where we have Thanksgiving. But I care very much about showing Maya that she will never be the priority in my son's life. Every tradition she tries to start, I will block. Every attempt she makes to build her own family culture, I will undermine. She needs to understand her place. I remembered that Thanksgiving. I had cried in our bedroom while Robert consoled his mother downstairs. I had felt selfish for even suggesting we host a holiday, and all along, Catherine had been playing a game. Robert's face had gone pale. She lied about being hurt? Keep reading, I said, my voice hollow. Year 4. The promotion. Robert told me about the senior engineer position today. He was so excited, like a little boy. It broke my heart to do what I did next, but it was necessary. I can't have him succeeding too much at work. Success means confidence. Confidence means he might start questioning my advice. So I planted seeds of doubt. Reminded him of his father's failed attempts at advancement. Suggested Maya would resent his absence. By the time I was done, he was convinced taking the promotion would destroy his family. He turned it down this morning. I feel terrible, but this is for his own good. And for mine. A successful, confident Robert might not need his mother anymore. Oh my God, Robert whispered. The promotion. You wanted me to take it. You said it was a great opportunity. I did. Your mother convinced you otherwise, I thought. She said you'd told her you were worried about me traveling. I never said that. I never talked to your mother about it at all. Robert flipped frantically through more pages, as if hoping to find something that would make this better. He didn't. Every entry made it worse. Year 6. The cooking comments. I've started making little comments about Maya's cooking when the children visit. Nothing overt enough to get me in trouble, just gentle observations. Grandma's mac and cheese is better, isn't it? This is real homemade food, not like what you get at home. Emma, especially, is receptive. She's at that age where she absorbs everything. If I can make her see Maya as inadequate, she'll repeat those observations. Nothing undermines a woman quite like her own children questioning her. I felt sick. Emma had come home saying those exact things. I had blamed myself, wondered if I really was a bad cook, if I really was failing my children. She used our daughter, I said. She deliberately used Emma to hurt me. Robert couldn't speak. He just kept reading, page after page of calculated manipulation. Year 7. The daily calls. The daily phone calls are my greatest success. Robert has accepted them as normal now. He doesn't even question when I call multiple times in one day. Yesterday I called 4 times. Once because I couldn't remember if I'd turned off the stove. I had. Once because I felt dizzy. I didn't. Once because I needed help with my computer, a problem I'd created myself. And once just to chat. By the 4th call, I could hear the strain in Maya's voice in the background. Is that your mother again? Perfect. Let her resent the calls. Let her feel like she's competing with me. She is competing with me, and she's losing. Every call, Robert said, his voice breaking. Every single call was fake? Not all of them, I said, though I wasn't sure that was true. But enough. Year 8. The therapy sessions. Robert told me they're seeing a marriage counselor, Dr. Hassan, apparently. I was worried at first, but then I realized this could work in my favor. I called Robert after their 2nd session and asked how it went. When he mentioned that the therapist suggested he set boundaries with me, I cried. I told him that hurt me deeply, that I'd only ever tried to be a good mother, that I was sorry I was such a burden. He immediately backtracked. Told me the therapist didn't understand our relationship, that I wasn't a burden. By the time we hung up, he'd already decided therapy wasn't helping. They quit after a few more sessions. Another victory. I remembered how hopeful I'd been about therapy, how devastated when Robert suggested we stop going. Dr. Hassan doesn't understand our family dynamic, he'd said. Those had been Catherine's words, coming out of her son's mouth. Year 10. Maya's mother's death. Maya's mother passed away last week. I should feel sympathy, and part of me does. But another part sees opportunity. Maya is vulnerable right now, grieving. This would be the perfect time for Robert to comfort her, to strengthen their bond. So I've made sure he's been at my house every evening this week. I'm having trouble sleeping, thinking about death. Could you stay for dinner? I don't want to eat alone. Each night, he comes home later. Each night, I see Maya's face when he walks in, and I know she needed him earlier. Good. Let her learn that even in her darkest moments, I come first. My mother died, I said, my voice shaking. My mother died. And you weren't there because your mother pretended to be upset about death. Robert looked at me with tears streaming down his face. Maya, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I thought Mom was really struggling. She was struggling to destroy our marriage. And she succeeded. Year 12. The racial comments. I've been careful about the race issue. I can't be overtly racist or Robert will turn on me. But subtle comments work wonders. I worry about Emma and Jake being mixed. It's so hard for them. Did you see how that woman looked at you all at the store? Some people are so prejudiced. I plant the idea that the world is cruel to his children because of their mother, not because of actual racism, but because Maya made them complicated. I can see it working. Robert has started making comments about keeping the kids out of trouble, being extra careful about their behavior. He's internalized the idea that his mixed-race children need to be perfect to be accepted. And he blames that pressure on Maya's ethnicity, not on my manipulation. I had heard those comments. The extra warnings about behavior. The, "we need to be careful how people perceive you" talks. I had thought Robert was trying to protect our children from racism. Now I saw he'd been taught to see their very existence as problematic. "She made you ashamed of your own children," I said. "No, I'm not," Robert started, then stopped. Oh God. The talk I gave Jake last month about being respectful to police, that wasn't about safety. That was about... I made him feel like being biracial made him dangerous. Because your mother convinced you of that. Over years. Little by little. Year. 13. The college fund. Robert mentioned that they're struggling to save for Emma's college fund. I could help, of course. I have more than enough money. But why would I? That would make Maya grateful to me, might even improve our relationship. Instead, I'm going to offer to pay for a private tutor for Emma, but only if she comes to my house for the sessions. More time with my granddaughter, less time with Maya, and Maya can't object without looking ungrateful. It's perfect. The tutor, I said. The one Emma saw at your mother's house for 2 years. Mom offered to pay. I thought she was being generous. She was being strategic. Every minute Emma spent there was a minute she wasn't with me. Robert set the journal down, his hands trembling. There's more. Years more. Every holiday, every birthday, every family event. She documented all of it. All her manipulations, all her lies. Why? I asked. Why would she write this down? I don't know. Maybe she was proud of it. Maybe she wanted to remember her victories. Or maybe, I said slowly, she never thought anyone would find it. She never thought she'd die before she destroyed our marriage completely. We sat in silence, the journal between us like a bomb that had already detonated. Finally, Robert spoke. Maya, I don't know how to apologize for this. I don't even know where to start. You could start by believing me. For 15 years, I told you your mother was undermining us. For 15 years, you said I was being too sensitive. You were right. About everything. And I was blind. You weren't blind, Robert. You were manipulated. She knew exactly which buttons to push. That doesn't excuse it. I chose her over you. Every time, he was right. The journal proved Catherine's manipulation, but it didn't change the fact that Robert had made choices. Every time I'd asked him to set boundaries, he'd refused. Every time I'd told him his mother was causing problems, he'd dismissed me. What do we do now? Robert asked. I looked at him. This man I'd loved for 17 years, married for 15. Did I still love him? Or had Catherine's war finally killed that too? I don't know, I said honestly. Over the next few days, Robert read the entire journal. All 15 years of entries. He emerged from the guest room where he'd been reading looking like a ghost. She hated you, he said simply, from the moment we met, not because of anything you did, just because you existed. I had known that, felt it in my bones for 15 years, but having it confirmed was different. Worse, somehow. There's an entry from before our wedding, Robert continued. She writes about trying to convince me to call it off. When that didn't work, she writes, if I can't stop the wedding, I'll stop the marriage. Give it 10 years. Maya will either leave or be broken down enough that she's no longer a threat. A threat to what? To her relationship with me. To her control. Robert's voice was hollow. She saw you as competition for my attention and love. And she decided to win by any means necessary. She did win, Robert. Look at us. He couldn't argue with that. Our marriage was a shell. We lived in the same house, raised the same children, but we'd been strangers for years. Catherine had achieved exactly what she'd set out to do. I want to make this right, Robert said. Tell me how to make this right. I don't know if you can. We could try therapy again. Real therapy, where I actually listen. Robert, it's been 15 years. 15 years of you choosing your mother over me. 15 years of me feeling crazy, feeling like I was the problem. Even if you believe me now, even if you're sorry, I don't know if I can forget that. I understand. But please, Maya, let me try. I looked at this man who had let his mother wage war on our marriage and felt nothing but exhaustion. I need time to think. I called Lisa, my best friend, and told her everything. She came over immediately. That evil witch, Lisa said after I showed her the journal. 15 years of psychological warfare. That's what this was, Maya. Psychological warfare. I know. What are you going to do? I don't know. Part of me wants to walk away. But we have kids. We have a life together. Can I throw that away? The question isn't can you, Lisa said gently. It's should you. Just because Catherine's dead doesn't mean the damage is undone. Robert spent 15 years showing you that you weren't his priority. That doesn't change just because he read a journal. She was right. And that was what scared me most. That night I confronted Robert with the real question. Why? Why what? Why did you always believe her over me? Even without the journal, even without knowing about her manipulation. Why was your instinct always to side with your mother? Robert was quiet for a long time. I think I was afraid. Of what? Of losing her. After Dad died, she was so fragile. Or I thought she was. She'd call crying, saying she couldn't cope, that she needed me. And I felt responsible for her happiness. Like if I didn't take care of her, if I didn't put her first, she'd fall apart. So you let our marriage fall apart instead? Yes. And I was wrong. God, Maya, I was so wrong. Here's what I don't understand, I said. There were moments when I explicitly told you what she was doing. The promotion. The holidays. The comments to the kids. I laid it out for you. And you still chose not to believe me. Why? Robert's face crumpled. Because believing you would mean accepting that my mother, the woman who raised me, who I loved, was capable of that kind of cruelty. It was easier to think you were overreacting than to accept that my mother was a manipulative liar. So you sacrificed me to protect your image of her? Yes. At least he was being honest now. But honesty 15 years too late didn't fix anything. I need to show you something else, Robert said. He pulled out another journal, older than the first. This one's from before we met, from when I was younger. He opened to an entry from when he was 16. Robert brought home a girl today. Jessica. Sweet girl, seems nice enough. But I could see the way he looked at her, and I knew I had to nip this in the bud. I'm his mother. No teenage girlfriend is going to come between us. I told Robert that Jessica seemed troubled, that I'd heard things about her family. It wasn't true, but Robert believed me. He broke up with her the next week. He's better off. He doesn't need distractions from girls. He needs to focus on school, on his future. On me. There were others, Robert said quietly. In college, after college, every woman I dated seriously. Mom found a way to sabotage it. I never saw the pattern until now. How many? 4 serious relationships before you. All ended because Mom convinced me something was wrong. With you, she couldn't convince me to leave. So she decided to destroy the marriage from the inside instead. I felt cold. This wasn't just about me. Catherine had been controlling her son's romantic life for decades. I had just been the one who made it to the altar before the sabotage took full effect. Robert, you need to hear this. Your mother was abusive. She never hit me. Emotional abuse is still abuse. She isolated you from romantic partners. She manipulated your emotions. She used guilt to control you. That's abuse. He sat with that for a moment. I never thought of it that way. Of course you didn't. Abusers rarely advertise their abuse. But that's what the journal is. It's a manual for how to emotionally abuse your son and his wife. What do I do with that information? You accept it. You grieve the mother you thought you had. And you decide whether you're going to continue her patterns or break them. That conversation was 3 weeks ago. Since then, Robert has been in intensive therapy. Individual therapy, not couples therapy. Dr. Hassan recommended it, said Robert needed to work through his mother's abuse before we could work on our marriage. I've been in therapy too. Processing 15 years of gaslighting, of being told I was too sensitive, of doubting my own perceptions. The kids know something's wrong, but we haven't told them the full truth. How do you tell your children that their grandmother spent years trying to destroy their family? That every loving moment might have been strategic? Emma asked me last week, "Are you and Dad getting divorced?" I don't know, honey. We're working through some things. Is it because of Grandma? I looked at my 12-year-old daughter, so perceptive, so aware. What makes you ask that? Dad's been reading Grandma's journals. He looks sad all the time. And you guys don't talk anymore, so I figured it had something to do with her. It's complicated, baby. Did Grandma do something bad? I chose my words carefully. Grandma loved you and your brother very much, but she made some mistakes in how she treated me and your father. We're trying to figure out how to move forward. Emma nodded, processing. Mom, some of the things Grandma said about you, I don't think they were true, like about your cooking being weird. I like your cooking. I think maybe Grandma wanted me to think I didn't. My throat tightened. Why do you think that? Because she'd say it when you weren't around, and then act different when you were there. That's what manipulative people do. We learned about it in health class. My daughter, at 12 years old, had seen what her father missed for years. You're right, I said. Grandma was manipulative sometimes. I'm sorry you had to see that. It's not your fault. Mom, it's hers. 2 months after finding the journal, Robert came home from therapy with a proposal. I want to read the journal to my family, he said. My aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone who thought Mom was a saint. They need to know the truth. Why? I asked. What does that accomplish? Because they've spent the last 2 months telling me what a wonderful woman she was. How lucky I was to have such a devoted mother. How I should honor her memory. And every time they say it, I feel sick. They're praising her for destroying my marriage. And you think reading them the journal will change their minds? I think they deserve to know who she really was. I understood the impulse. For 15 years, Catherine had maintained a perfect facade. Everyone saw the devoted mother, the loving grandmother, the pillar of the community. Only I had seen the monster underneath. And for 15 years, I'd been called paranoid for pointing it out. It won't make them like me any better, I said. If anything, they'll resent me for exposing her. I don't care. I'm done protecting her reputation at your expense. The family gathering was scheduled for a Sunday afternoon. Robert's aunt was hosting, ostensibly to go through more of Catherine's belongings and share memories. Robert asked if I wanted to come. No, I said. This is your family. Your truth to tell, I don't need to be there. He looked relieved, which told me everything I needed to know. Even now, even after everything, part of him was still worried about how his family would react to me. Robert came home that evening looking exhausted but lighter somehow. How did it go? I asked, about how you'd expect. Denial at first. Mom would never do that. You must have misunderstood. Then I started reading entries. Direct quotes. Specific incidents they all remembered. Their faces changed. What did they say? Aunt Margaret cried. She said she'd always thought you were cold to Mom, but now she understood why. Uncle James got angry. Wanted to know why I hadn't shown them the journal earlier. Cousin Beth just sat there in shock. She said it explained a lot about why her own relationships with Mom were so complicated. Did anyone defend her? Aunt Patricia. She said maybe Mom was just trying to protect me. That mothers sometimes go too far out of love. Robert's jaw tightened. I told her that what Mom did wasn't love. It was control. And there's a difference. How did that go over? She left. Said I was disrespecting Mom's memory. A few others agreed with her. But most of them stayed. Most of them listened. What now? Now they know. Now when they remember Mom, they'll remember the whole truth, not just the facade. I waited for relief to come. Vindication. But all I felt was tired. The real question still remained. What happened to us? Dr. Hassan suggested a joint session after 3 months of individual therapy. We sat in his office, the same one we'd sat in years ago when Catherine had sabotaged our first attempt at help. Maya, Robert has shared the journal with me, Dr. Hassan said. I want to start by acknowledging the profound betrayal you experienced. Not just from Catherine, but from Robert's repeated choice to believe her over you. Thank you, I said quietly. Robert, you've done important work in individual therapy. You've begun to process your mother's emotional abuse and recognize the patterns she established. But I want to ask you directly, why should Maya stay in this marriage? The blunt question hung in the air. Robert looked at me, then at Dr. Hassan. I can't give her a reason that makes up for 15 years, Robert said. I can't undo the damage. I can only tell her who I'm trying to become now. And who is that? Dr. Hassan asked. Someone who sees her. Really sees her. Someone who believes her when she tells me something's wrong. Someone who puts our marriage first. Maya, do you believe him? Dr. Hassan asked me. I want to, I said. But wanting isn't the same as trusting. What would you need to trust him again? I thought about that question for a long time. I'd need to see consistent change. Not just words, but actions. Over months, maybe years. I'd need to know that when the next crisis comes, when the next choice has to be made, he'll choose us. That's fair, Dr. Hassan said. Robert, can you commit to that? Understanding that Maya's trust has to be earned back slowly? Yes, whatever it takes. And Maya, can you commit to being open to that possibility? Even though you've been hurt, could I? That was the question I'd been avoiding for months. I don't know, I admitted. Part of me wants to burn it all down and start over somewhere else. Part of me thinks we've been through too much to just walk away. And I don't know which part is right. Both parts are valid, Dr. Hassan said. You're allowed to be conflicted. The question is whether you're willing to try, knowing you might still decide to leave later. That doesn't seem fair to Robert. Robert broke your trust over 15 years. You're allowed to take time deciding whether to rebuild it. Robert nodded. I understand. I'll take whatever time you need. We left that session without answers, but with a tentative agreement to keep trying. The real test came 6 weeks later. Robert's aunt called with a family emergency. His uncle had a heart attack and was in the hospital. The family wanted Robert to come immediately. I need to go, Robert said, grabbing his keys. Wait, I said. Before you go, I need to know something. Are you going because your uncle is genuinely in crisis? Or because your family expects you to drop everything whenever they call? Robert stopped. Looked at me. I could see him processing the question, seeing the pattern. I'm going because my uncle might die and I want to say goodbye if that's the case, he said carefully. But I'm also going because that's what I've always done. Jump when my family says jump. What if I asked you to stay? Are you asking me to stay? No, your uncle is in the hospital. You should go. But I'm asking you to think about what you'd do if I was. If there was a conflict between what your family wants and what I need. Robert set down his keys. If you needed me to stay, I'd stay. Even if they were angry. Even if they said I was being selfish. I'd stay. You've never done that before. I know. I'm trying to be different. Trying isn't the same as doing. You're right. He picked up his keys again. I'm going to the hospital. But I'm going because I choose to. Not because I'm obligated to. And if you call me while I'm there and say you need me home, I'll leave. No matter what's happening. Do you believe me? I want to. Then test me. If at any point tonight you need me, call. I'll come home, he left. I sat in our living room, holding my phone, wondering if I should test him. Create a fake emergency to see if he'd really choose me. But that would make me just like Catherine. Manufacturing crises to prove loyalty. Instead, I texted him, I don't need you to come home. But thank you for offering, he replied. I love you. I'm sorry for all the times I didn't choose you. I'm choosing you now. Simple words. But after 15 years of being the second choice, they meant everything. Robert came home at midnight. His uncle was stable. The crisis had passed. But more importantly, Robert had set a boundary. Aunt Patricia wanted me to stay the night, he said. Said I should be there in case something changed. I told her no. I told her my wife was at home and that's where I needed to be. How did she react? She called me selfish. Said Mom would be disappointed in me. And I told her that Mom spent 15 years manipulating me and I was done letting her control me from beyond the grave. You said that? I did, and it felt good. Really good. I saw something in Robert's eyes I hadn't seen in years. Clarity, strength, maybe even self-respect. I'm proud of you, I said. Does that mean you're staying? It means I'm still here today. Ask me again tomorrow. We fell into a new pattern. Each day, Robert made small choices that put our marriage first. He stopped answering every phone call from family immediately. He started asking if I needed him before committing to help others. He began checking his assumptions instead of accepting them as truth. And slowly, painfully, I began to trust him again. 3 months after the journal discovery, I made a decision. I want to forgive you, I told Robert. Not because you've earned it yet. Not because everything's fixed, but because I can't carry this anger anymore. It's destroying me from the inside. I don't deserve your forgiveness. Probably not. But I'm not forgiving you for your benefit. I'm forgiving you for mine. We started rebuilding. Not the marriage we had before. That marriage was built on Catherine's manipulations and Robert's enabling. We were building something new. Something based on honesty, even when it hurt. Based on choosing each other, even when it was hard. The kids noticed the change. Emma commented that we seemed happier. Jake said it was nice to have both parents home for dinner again. But the real test came when Robert's family invited us to Christmas. The first major holiday since Catherine's death. I don't want to go, I said. I've spent 15 Christmases pretending to be comfortable in your mother's house while she undermined me. I can't do it again. Then we won't go, Robert said simply. Your family will be furious. Let them be furious. We're starting our own traditions. At our house. With our kids. The way you wanted to 15 years ago. What about your family? They're welcome to come here if they want. On our terms. But I'm done performing for them. We hosted Christmas at our house for the first time ever. Robert's family was invited, but most declined. Aunt Patricia sent a scathing email about how we were dishonoring Catherine's memory. Robert replied, Mom's memory dishonors itself. We're done pretending otherwise. Christmas morning, it was just the 4 of us. Robert, me, Emma, and Jake. We made pancakes and opened presents and watched movies. It was quiet. It was simple. It was perfect. This is nice, Emma said, curled up on the couch between us. Better than Grandma's house? I asked carefully. Way better? Grandma's house always felt like we had to be perfect. This feels like we can just be ourselves. Jake nodded agreement. Plus, Mom's cooking is way better than Grandma's. I looked at Robert. He was smiling, tears in his eyes. I'm sorry it took me so long to give you this, he said quietly. We're here now. That's what matters. 6 months after finding the journal, Dr. Hassan asked me the question again. Why are you staying in this marriage? This time, I had an answer. Because the man I married finally showed up. It took his mother dying and a journal full of confessions to get him here, but he's here now. And I want to see who we can become without her shadow over us. And if Robert backslides, if he falls into old patterns, then I'll leave. But I don't think he will. I think Catherine breaking him free from her control was the best thing that could have happened. As terrible as that sounds. It doesn't sound terrible. It sounds honest. Robert and I will never get back the 15 years Catherine stole from us. We'll never know what our marriage could have been without her interference. But we have now. We have the chance to build something real. The journal sits in a safety deposit box. Robert wanted to burn it, but I said no. Not because I want to remember the pain, but because I never want to forget the lessons. Manipulation is insidious. It works because it's subtle, consistent, and targets your vulnerabilities. Catherine knew Robert's greatest fear was losing his mother, so she weaponized that fear against our marriage. But here's what Catherine didn't count on. She died before finishing her mission. The journal was supposed to be her private record of victory. Instead, it became evidence of her crimes. In her final act, Catherine exposed herself. Sometimes I wonder if she knew at the end. In those last days in hospice, did she think about the journal? Did she worry someone would find it? Or was she so confident in her work that she never imagined being caught? I'll never know. And honestly, I don't care anymore. Catherine Thompson spent 15 years trying to destroy my marriage. She came close. She nearly succeeded. But in the end, her obsession with documenting her manipulations gave us the truth we needed to survive. My name is Maya Thompson. I'm 42 years old. For 15 years, my mother-in-law waged psychological warfare against my marriage. She manipulated her son, gaslit me, used my children as weapons, and nearly destroyed everything I loved. But I survived. My marriage survived, and we're stronger now than we ever were before. If you're in a relationship where you feel constantly undermined, where your partner chooses their family over you, where you're told you're too sensitive when you express hurt, trust your instincts. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. And you deserve a partner who chooses you. It took me 15 years and a journal full of confessions to get that. I hope it doesn't take you that long. What would you do if you discovered your mother-in-law had been sabotaging your marriage for years? Would you stay and rebuild, or would you walk away? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life stories about family betrayal, toxic relationships, and finding strength you never knew you had. Until next time, remember, sometimes the people who claim to love us the most are the ones doing the most damage. Pay attention, trust yourself, and never let anyone convince you that your reality isn't real.